Hello, Sharon Haynes here with my video part 2 on the Austin, Texas yogurt shop murder mystery unsolved case. Um, I had posted on my Facebook page a long time ago that I was going to post a video about the Austin yogurt shop murders because I knew the girls personally. And my one of my in-laws, Sue, she worked on the case, and therefore she, had some inside information. She worked on the case through her law office, and she told me that the murders were a very occult style killings, and she said the general public didn't know about that because the case was ongoing. So this was over 35 years ago. And she told me that when the police and first responders arrived, that many of the policemen and or many of the firefighters and first responders had to go through her law office in order to get paperwork they needed for psychological counseling. So many of the firefighters and first responders needed psychological counseling, not just for the naked charred bodies of the girls that they found, although that was a good part of it. But she told me also for the occult images that they found at the scene. And she told me the general public didn't know about this, but the policemen, the firefighters, first responders, of course, all knew about this. And she told me that torture was involved, and she told me that knives were involved in the torture, and that's on the police report now, that knives were involved in the torture, and she told me as well as other things. And then, but she said she couldn't reveal any more to me. She said that she had already revealed too much. And so I talked about this in a 1 hour long YouTube video. I also knew the yogurt shop girls personally because I used to frequent the yogurt shop, and I used to go there with friends and would have conversations with the yogurt shop girls. We would have conversations about the Lord and faith in the Lord, about how great the Lord is. And the yogurt shop girls, would join us in their conversations. They, they were very religious, very nice, sweet young girls. Anyway, I had posted on my Facebook page that I was going to post a YouTube video, and then yesterday, a stranger, asked me. He commented on my post that let me know when you post your video, and he said he wanted to know what I knew about the killings, and he said that he had his own theories. So at first I thought he was maybe a normal person. I said, okay, I'd like to hear about your theories. And then I looked at his Facebook page, saw his Facebook page was chock full of satanic images, occult images, and evil clowns, snakes, owls, and other occult symbols. And and just graphic, gruesome, sick pictures. And I noticed that some of the pictures that he had, they matched up to how the police report described the yogurt shop killings. There was a picture of a girl that was buried, just her head sticking up, and masking tape over her mouth, and her mouth was just all taped up, and this girl had obviously been killed, sacrificed. And then that was exactly what happened to the yogurt shop girls, they were bound, gagged with their articles of their own clothing and their underwear, and, and so they were choked and they fixated, because they couldn't breathe. And to see this picture on his Facebook page of a girl's head sticking up out of the ground with basket tape just all over her mouth, and and she looked obviously dead, but was sacrificed. And there were other very graphic pictures. He had a picture of either himself or someone else. It looked like him, covered with blood, splattered all over him, standing next to a wall, splattered with blood, and he had just this evil smirk on his face. And so, those girls were killed, tortured with knives, and so and they were shot as well. And blood would have obviously been splattered all over the killers and the walls and everywhere. So that was another. And then there were more. So the police had said, it said on the police report, the police were looking for people that were claimed to be vampires and people in the paranormal. It actually says this on the police report. And it doesn't say why the police were looking for suspects that were claiming to be vampires and in the paranormal. But, my in-law, Sue, who worked on the case, did tell me that, the police found a very strong, police, firefighters, and first responders found very strong evidence that it was a very occult style killing. So, and then you have it. It's actually in the police report that the police were looking for suspects that claimed to be vampires and that were into the paranormal. They were interviewing people going around saying they were vampires and that were running through graveyards, jumping over tombstones. It actually does say that. You can Google it. It actually says that in the police report. Okay. And this guy that contacted me on his Facebook page, I saw there were pictures of vampire images, of gravestones, of graveyards. And then on his Facebook picture, he put up a Batman picture, bats, vampires, and just on and on and on, all this occult stuff. And he was wearing an occult style necklace. It was a cross with some symbols above it, like a triangle and a half circle together. And, I Googled it, of course, it's an occult necklace, not a Christian necklace, an occult necklace he was wearing. And so, but I was commenting with him. His name, by the way, is Thomas J. What was it? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, it's Thomas J. I can't remember. Anyway, when I Googled his name, it gave me some other information about him, like that he used to. Oh, Mariner. That's his last name, Mariner. Mariner or AR. Anyway, Thomas J. Mariner is his name. And if you type in that name and go to his Facebook page, you can see all these graphic images. Thomas J. Mariner. So, and he mentions this band a whole lot on his page. And I looked up that band, and when I pulled up his name, it showed that band as well. And showed songs from this band, and I think that he was the one singing in the band, because the links from the band playing that it's from a long time ago, and so he was younger in those videos. So, but it looked like him, looked like him when he was younger. Anyway, he was singing a song about heroin, about being addicted to heroin. It was like, oh, great. And on his Facebook page, his pictures with his friends, yeah, they look like they're just all strung out on heroin. Oh, great, yeah. They look like somebody that would, off, a bunch of girls. So, and I asked him what his theory was on how the girls were killed, and anyway, he just briefly said, I think the son-in-laws did it. And anyway, he said, sorry for bothering you, and so he didn't respond anymore. And but that didn't even make sense because those girls were young. They were not married. They were too young to be married. There were no son-in-laws. So I'm like, So, yeah, I think he just lied. I think he was fishing for information about what I knew, what I posted on YouTube. But yeah, I found out that he used to, when I Googled his name, found out he lives in New Jersey now, but I found out he used to live in Lubbock, Texas. And Lubbock is not far from Austin, Texas, where the girls were killed. Very interesting that he used to live near where the girls were killed, and he has all these creepy drawings that look like the scene of the murder. Plus, he told me he claimed to think he knows, what might have happened. Like, oh, okay. So, yeah. And a lot of times, so criminals will return to the scene of a crime. So I think he's just, trying to fish for information, see what I know about him. And then also the police had said that the killers could have possibly come in through an air vent that was in the men's bathroom at the yogurt shop, in the ceiling to the men's bathroom, and it connected to the strip center that the yogurt shop was in. So, and they said before the killings, they said it's very strange they discovered some looked like men's footprints on top of a toilet below the air vent. So, they got this monkey business going on, and then they don't do anything about it. And they have these teenage girls closing the shop. So possibly the police believe the killers possibly could have come in through the air vent and just, popped in, right when the girls were locking up shop as they were closing. So, and then on that Thomas guy, another picture on his page, he had a picture of some very ominous looking, masked looking, hooded looking men descending from a ceiling with somebody below. It looked like they were doing a human sacrifice because the person down below had their arms